Another installment of TEW. Um, you know, we're here. We're playing some more TEW. We're doing some Dark Side of the Ring watch along. We were last left in the throes of the rivalry of Matt Borne and Adrian Adonis. And tonight, things are no different. So Adonis has actually beaten Borne twice since being pinned. And Kevin Sullivan's jaw being broken in the same, tag match. So you would think Adonis is over it, can move past it, and you know, can just continue on with his time. But his emotions, the Iceman's newfound emotions, are not going away. I didn't turn on my lighting here today.
Bluetooth mode.
We won't need that. Oh, here we go. Let's do that. Red and green for Doink. All right. Sweet. But yeah. Anyway, um, the Iceman's emotions have been, his ice has been shattered. His emotions have broken through, and he can't stop them. They're not going away, and neither is Matt Borne. The Enforcers of Evil, Matt Borne and his partner, um, oh geez, Scott Levy. Wanted to say Raven, but I knew it wasn't Raven yet. Were kind of messing with and screwing with um, Adrian and uh, the other remaining member of the, not the Unholy Union, that's their tag team names, but the Dark Brotherhood, Kevin Sullivan's gang. While Kevin Sullivan's out, they jumped Adonis and the Destroyer. Um, so yeah, let's see how the show goes, how the segment goes. But we'll start this at the start, because where else? And we'll get it on.
I might have a little surprise for
Steve
you
Austin,
tonight.
Austin Barr,
Borne was a
Art Barr.
terrifying clown.
Pretty good
Vince
match.
McMahon got this gimmick, Doink, and he's like, oh, I know the perfect person to do this. And he told Matt, you're gonna make this character work for me. And, I mean, look what he did.
Why make children cry? What does that get you?
Matt was a maniac. Maniac Matt was a very fitting name.
Maniac Matt Borne.
Matt.
Matt Borne in charge right now.
He fired up, brother, but he was sound. Before putting on the clown suit, Matt
2 out
Borne
of
was
3
a
falls
second-generation
match.
wrestler.
Matt Borne
Chip on
goes
his shoulder
over
and
Adrian
something to
Adonis.
prove.
Yes, baby. That's right.
But despite his success as one of the WWF's most iconic
85.
stars, Matt's bad decisions and bad habits would continue to haunt him.
Everybody has problems out there in the real world. It's no different in the world of professional wrestling.
Happy with
I
that
could
show?
just see him in the back, having a cigarette, like Krusty. Oh yeah, I whooped his ass, didn't
We
I?
need to get off
No
ESPN.
silver lining here.
His demons get the best of him, and it was just all downhill.
When he did drugs, he was a completely different human being.
He liked oxys, he liked steroids, he liked cocaine, yes. And I didn't even know he was on crack.
A clown in the ring whose violent tendencies ran deeper than the grease paint.
When you see a headline about Doink the Clown being on drugs, fighting, you just think he's a terrible person.
I tried to make him realize that you don't have to do drugs, you don't have to get violent. We all know you're tough. Just be you. Because I did though.
I'm gonna have to
And
upgrade
in
my
the
production.
end, his tragic death would leave some still
I gotta
looking
step it
for
up a notch.
answers.
Nobody wants to believe that it was an accident.
I don't believe it. There was 110% foul play.
Where's the dressing room at, Luke?
They're right there.
God, every time I put this on, it's weird. I get these mixed feelings about it, you know. I mean, I love it, you know. I mean, one time I thought I had the best job in the world. Bad thing about it was I was pretty ignorant. I thought, man, this is the way it's going to be. You know, I've done this, and you know, nothing's forever. Definitely not this character, right?
I mean, this is the biggest crowd in history, 1.2 million. Nobody wants to lose in front of that many people,
Absolutely.
Tito.
Let's go up to Howard.
At the very first WrestleMania, do you know who fought Ricky Steamboat?
It was my dad, wasn't it? Yeah, I watched it. It was phenomenal.
From Portland, Oregon, Matt Borne.
Matt Borne looks in good shape himself. You know, he's a second-generation wrestler.
He just, no offense to Steamboat, like, he was obviously good, but my dad just killed it. Like, the way he hit the ropes, the way he hit the floor, like, I actually believe that they beat each other up.
Matt Borne is not done yet.
My dad loved his job. He didn't just do it to be famous. He actually loved what he did, and he was so freaking good at it. My name's Tegan Osborne, and I'm the daughter of Matt Osborne, Doink the Clown.
Steamboat is, here he comes! Wow! Some 15 feet across the ring. He got him!
He got him!
I actually met Matt in '93 in Elwood City. He had just gotten fired from WWE.
Where are you getting injured, bro?
He definitely looked rough. Looked like he partied a lot, put it that way. And when I first met him, he's like, I'm Doink the Clown. I'm like, what do you go to kids' birthday parties? And he's like, I'm a pro wrestler. And I'm like, yeah, that shit's all fake. But Matt just made it look so real to me. My name is Michelle James, and I was married to Matt Osborne.
Something cool there.
Until his death. We weren't together, but
styling
we
and profiling.
And we have 2 kids.
The diamond
the other
ring
women
wearing.
That married him, obviously.
Diamond
for money.
watch having.
I didn't. Like I loved this man. I really did. He
Diamond
was 37.
glasses
I was 21.
in the correct light.
So my first impressions were, wow, this guy's old. But he was still good at it.
Here's Borne taking down.
Matt was hugely influential, not just to me, but by extension, anyone who ever saw my work and liked it is in a way admiring the work of Matt Borne. My name is Mick Foley. I'm a 3-time WWE champion, known as the Hardcore Legend, and Matt Borne was a colleague and friend of mine. I saw in him what I hope to one day be. You don't just play a character, you inhabit the character. You had to believe it yourself. He was a second-generation wrestler. That respect had been instilled in him by his dad, Tough Tony Borne.
Tony was quite content with being a Portland wrestler, and he was proud of it. Until this day, if you say Tough Tony Borne, everybody in Oregon knows who he is. Matt grew up with his dad, actually, because his mom and dad divorced when he was 10. He remembers the day they split up. His mom said, you go with your dad, because I don't want that
Still trying to get
bastard.
Dusty and Flair to be friends.
That stayed in Matt's head probably till the day he died.
He had so much anger in him and passion in him. Well, I would consider him similar to the Incredible Hulk, yes. Like, that was just my dad. He was 6'1". He was just thick. His hands were thick, his neck was thick. Everything about my dad was just bigger.
I don't know whether his dad's legacy helped or hindered Matt, but it was a pretty big name to live up to. It's difficult being the child of a wrestler.
I'll be honest with you, it hasn't been easy being your son, being the son of Tough Tony Borne.
Okay, we got Dad and his dad.
Tough Tony Borne and Matt Borne.
Yep.
2 legends that are no longer here, but...
This is one of my favorite pictures because he just looks happy.
Matt was solid. He was of an era where you laid it in and you made people believe. Matt made you work in the ring. The term that's come to my mind is whirling dervish. He sold pain differently, and he was in constant motion.
Well, I certainly think Matt's father had an influence on making Matt tough. My name is Dr. Tom Pritchard, and I first met Matt Borne in the early 1980s.
Tommy Pritchard!
Matt could be abrasive. He could be confrontational. Yeah, he could be out of his mind. We were both young in the business back then, but Matt had grown up in it. He learned a lot of it through his father, but his father came up through the ranks where these guys were even more insane. So Matt's learning from his dad how to handle conflict, and not everybody would appreciate that.
Well, I don't think any father could be any prouder of his son than I am of mine.
After establishing himself in Portland, Matt begins a tour of the territories that make up the wrestling world, building a name and reputation across the country.
Matt Borne did the regional territories.
Introducing Matt Borne.
And he got over everywhere he did.
Notice
he
Matt's
got
become
over
a star by beating Adrian.
He got over in Texas.
Texas heavyweight champion Matt Borne.
He got over in Carolinas.
Well, first off, I gotta say, Matt Borne and I, from the time I met him, did not get along. He was a bully, in my opinion. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan from the golden age of wrestling.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Mid-South at that time was a snake pit of tough guys. And back then, six-man tags were pretty big. The Freebirds were really, really hot. And of course, the Von Erichs were hot. So Bill Watts decided to put together a six-man tag. And of course, he had two second-generation guys with Matt Borne and DiBiase, and he obviously saw something in me and put me with those guys who were already pretty established and formed the Rat Pack.
One for all for one. We're the Rat Pack, man.
Every night, you're throwing punches, you're blocking punches, you're getting potatoed. We weren't the baby face heels or the crybaby heels. We were the kick butt heels.
It's busted loose again.
All three were incredible performers, incredible workers.
Though they didn't have a chance against us.
Matt seemed to have a lot going for him, but he was always fighting those demons.
This Borne is a very aggressive wrestler.
Oh, beautiful suplex.
I only knew Matt Borne through reputation. Hi, this is B. Brian Blair, retired professional wrestler. I heard that Matt was a product of the Portland territory. That's about all I knew about Matt until we had met in this bar. The place was packed, full of the boys. And Matt comes up to me, Matt Borne now, he's new in the territory, and he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, why are you messing with my girl?" I looked at Matt and I said, "I'm not messing with your girl, Matt. I don't have a girlfriend here. I don't know what you're talking about." And he seemed like he was a little, jacked up, just very big eyes. And I kind of think that Matt wanted to establish himself as a tough guy. And he thought that I was going to be the guy that he was going to establish himself on. So all of a sudden, I turn around and boom, Matt hits me from behind and he goes to suplex me. And when he did, I turned in midair and landed on top of him. And when I was on top of Matt, he grabbed my ears and he's pulling my head down. He's got his teeth wide open. I can still see his teeth. He's getting ready to bite my nose. And as he goes to bite my nose, I saw his lip sticking out, so I went down and bit his bottom lip right off and spit his lip off. And so I'm on top of him and, I punch him and he's like a zombie. And I thought it was over. A few minutes later, he comes back, jumps on me again. I wind up beating him up really good this time. I mean, I hammered this guy. How he ever got up, I don't know. He was live. I mean, all the way live. This was unhuman. And a little while goes by now, and people are buying me drinks, and they're laughing, and all of a sudden, I can't believe it, freaking Matt jumps on me again. He's all bandaged up. This time, as I'm trying to drag him towards the door, he hooked my right leg somehow, and I fell forward. And as I fell forward, I felt him on my back, and then I felt a hand like reaching for my eyeball. And there's Ivan Koloff right at the doorway, and Ivan kicked Matt's hand and said, "No eyes," which I'm very grateful for because Matt could have pulled my eyeball out. I mean, he was like electricity. He was bleeding all over the place, from his eyes, from his nose, from his mouth. I guess if you have the right drugs in you, they can obviously make you superhuman, because that was not a human.
Matt's violent behavior outside the ring is already causing problems with his co-workers, but an incident at ringside will bring his time in the Rat Pack to an end.
Matt Borne would rather get in there and kick somebody in the teeth as a man who has been well schooled.
That was Monroe, Louisiana, coming out of the ring. And again, I'm 280 pounds. I'm jacked up. I'm pushing 505 on the bench. I'm blowing up. I'm blowing snot and steam and sweat. I'm coming out of the ring. I just got done kicking butt. I'm going through the crowd. Boom, I get popped. We were bad guys. People didn't like us back then, brother. They hated us, you know. And boom, I popped the guy right back. He went down. I kept on going. But when he went down, Matt put a boot to him. Broke his right front orbital lobe.
I kicked him so hard his eyeball fell out.
Following a match in Monroe, Louisiana, Matt Borne takes an altercation with a fan in the crowd too far.
So the guy, he sued me, he sued Matt, and he sued the company.
And I asked him, I said, did you go to jail? He was like, no, I didn't get in trouble at all.
Matt got fired, Duggan was kept, and I think that's where the hard feelings might have come out on Matt's side.
Bill Watts used me as an example. This is how you take care of the business, you know. And I was gone, you know. All of a sudden, I was a bad guy.
Though Matt leaves Mid-South under a cloud, his talent and connections land him a job with the World Wrestling Federation. But less than a year into his contract, he's fired once again, this time for drug use.
I don't think Matt ever wrestled sober. He was always snorting coke. I mean, he'd have to start his day smoking weed. Maybe sometimes pain pills if he had them. I think it's the lifestyle. You know, they would go out and drink. Well, that would lead to this. Oh, let's try that.
In spite of the setback, Matt lands on his feet again as he's hired by Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling and given a gimmick inspired by his Northwest roots.
Big Josh.
All right. We are going to run the show here. So I've got Matt Borne coming out to the ring, taunting Adonis. Adonis comes and attacks from the crowd. They get pulled apart. They said, you know what? Fuck it. We'll do a match right now. And Matt Borne goes over again, making him 2-2 in singles matches against Adonis, but with one pinfall victory in a tag match as well. So he's got a little bit of an edge over him. You guys might notice I've turned off like repetitive booking penalties, mostly just so I can do this show kind of without any problems. Having to run into, you know, guys booked against each other and stuff like that, that I want to, you know, tell a story. But yeah, wow, Keji is really going for it. He needs to be able to get into a tag team with somebody who I can just strap a rocket to him. I was hoping it would be Austin, so I want to strap a rocket to him as well, but not too hard. All right, nice work, Matt Borne. We're building up to something here.
Was a lumberjack.
When Sullivan
that
comes
his
back,
character.
that's going to
He's kind of a
alter
bad
Matt
guy,
Borne's
but yet
character
in a
forever.
Sweet way. My name is Maria, and I am Matt Borne's ex-wife from way back when. I was with a friend of mine, and we were at a match, and Matt evidently sent one of the security guys out to get me, said he wanted to meet me. So I went back, and he introduced himself and invited my girlfriend and I out for a drink. He seemed nice. He was very cordial. It was pretty fast. It was probably within about 3 months that he asked me to move down.
Nice.
So I quit my job and I moved. And you know, I want the whole thing. I want the wife, the kids, things like that.
What was Matt's emotional state when, like, his first daughter was born?
Well, I was to be induced in the hospital, so I had an appointment to go in at 10:30 in the morning. Matt went out the night before and never came home. He showed up just before my daughter was born. High, a little drunk, but he showed up. When he was with WCW, he had an offer from Vince McMahon, so he took that job.
With a second chance at the WWF, Matt lands yet another opportunity to reinvent himself.
From what I understand, they created Doink together.
I thought that was going to be a way worse incident.
Doink was a crazy-looking clown with green hair.
When I first heard of how Doink the Clown came about, I thought it made perfect sense because Hawk from the Road Warriors was looking at Matt because Matt, you know, smoking a cigarette after his match, boot half unlaced, his hair all a mess, and he's sweating, and it's like, we've got our own Krusty over there. Krusty the Clown.
I could pull a better cartoon out of my Hey, whoa!
It's not what I would think of as an ideal character for a wrestler, but seemed to take off pretty good.
As far as technical wrestling is concerned, knowing holds, knowing counters and what have you, Doink is right up there with the best of them. Doink the Clown, considered one of the greats. But why dress up in this ridiculous-looking outfit? What does that get you?
I think the little ones were scared, like this evil but happy clown.
Demented clown, I mean, a demented clown ought to be kind of a scungy son of a bitch, you know? I mean, I've been around enough guys in the wrestling business that I know how to portray that.
I can't criticize anybody with a 2x4 and a hoe. Whatever works. I mean, and Doink got over pretty good.
As soon as I heard that Matt Borne was going to WWE, not as a clown, but as an evil clown, I thought, he's going to sink his teeth into this.
Doink the Clown having fun. If they don't have a sense of humor, that's their problem. If I laugh, that's all that matters.
It was the best character he ever did. Doink was his favorite.
My dad was just goofy. He looked scary, but he was like a big, goofy teddy bear. So that also probably helped him do Doink, because I see some of that when he wrestles, and I'm like, damn, like I don't think that's Doink, I think that's my dad.
And he would just look in the mirror and kind of practice saying this and saying that.
I am no more than an instrument of nature, a product of my environment.
It was a gimmick, but Matt breathed life into this gimmick. I did not like a lot of what WWE was doing at that time, but I did like Doink the Clown.
Forget about it.
Well, by God, I may be a clown, but I'm gonna rub your face in the mat, I'm gonna beat you up, and it's gonna be funny to me.
WrestleMania 9, it was freaking phenomenal. Doink is wrestling.
Doink the Clown.
He's losing, he keeps trying to go underneath the stage, and all of a sudden, this other Doink the Clown pops up. They beat the shit out of Crush at the end, and I'm like, holy shit, like that came out of nowhere, and then they did the mirror.
He felt like he don't know why Vince did that. He felt like he was being set up for failure. Man, he was right, though. He called it.
As Doink the Clown rules the WrestleMania ring, the inner struggles of Matt Borne will soon bring his turn in the spotlight to an end, even as Doink lives on. As Matt Borne enjoys the highest levels of wrestling fame, his demons threaten to destroy everything he's worked to create.
There were times when he would take off, go somewhere, didn't see him for 3 or 4 days. And it happened a lot. He was fired for drug abuse. He tested dirty.
So we are going to have Matt Borne versus Adrian Adonis rubber match. 2v2 becomes 3v2 or 3-2. Somebody's going to be up. And in this case, by disqualification and outside interference, it's going to be Matt Borne. The match starts going Matt's way, and Sullivan's back. Sullivan's had enough. Sullivan rolls in and just smacks Matt Borne down with a weapon, foreign object, some kind of, Kevin Sullivan cult-related prop of some kind. And he probably has like a staff or something that he uses. But yeah, he's going to smack Borne and get Adrian DQ'd. And then they're just going to beat him down. Levy's going to run in to save, but the Destroyer kind of throws him into the stairs and beats him down outside while Borne is getting beaten by Adrian and Sullivan in the ring. So that's going to be basically what we see in this one. And everyone's going to just wonder where Matt Borne has gone.
And Vince let him go. Matt tried to blame everyone else except himself for that, but I wasn't surprised.
We're staying in Boston and smoking some weed in the hotel, and I was fired. period. Why was I doing the drugs? That's what I did. That's what addicts do.
As he would tell it, he lost his job and I left him because he no longer had his job, but that wasn't the case. He started to get really angry and drank a lot more, seemed to be going out a lot more, and I did know he was doing a lot of coke. Became very physically abusive to me and my daughter. He was sitting on the couch, he was a smoker, and he was just complaining and bitching and, you know, about this and that. And
Another friendly reminder that I'm booking these people appropriately. They're gonna get paid even if I don't put them on the cards, and you know this stuff's not gonna happen as
then
bad.
he would just take cigarettes, and he was throwing these cigarettes, lit cigarettes at me, you know.
Send them to rehab
he
when
came
they
over and
need
he
it.
grabbed me and pulled me off the chair with my daughter in my arms. She was only a couple months old. She went flying, and that's when I knew I can't do this, and I can't do this to her. And I packed her up, closed on her back, one bag, and drove off. I tell people the story, and they're like, "What? Really? You were what? You were married to who?" A lot of people, when you tell them that, they're impressed. And it's like, you know, don't be impressed. It's not a good story. Not a good story at all.
I mean, he literally had $1 million home being built.
They had just moved into it. He had his bathtub engraved with 18-karat gold Doink.
He was still proud of Doink, but he really struggled. At the end of the day, I know deep down it killed him because he knew he was good and it got fucked up over drugs.
The day he went home, as he got fired, he said he stayed up for 8 days straight and did non-stop coke and started hallucinating because he couldn't believe he lost everything he just gained.
Though Matt Borne has been fired, the character of Doink the Clown makes his return at the very next show. Only this time, there's another wrestler under the grease paint.
A character cannot usually be readily replaced. But in this case, I think the sentiment was he's a clown. We'll put someone else in the exact same makeup. And it was successful, as portrayed by Steve Kern and later by Ray Apollo. But it was never as good as it was when Matt wore the paint.
They figured since Steve did this with Matt that maybe he could pull it off. Then they brought Dink, because they were trying to keep it alive.
I mean, Doink the Clown and Dink, they were mainstays.
You can stick anybody in a Doink suit, and it's a great character that way. So Matt came and gone, and a lot of folks don't even realize he came and gone.
And that's when he went way down.
How he came to Elwood City, I don't know because it's such a small town, but it was meant to be. That's where he met my mom.
He worked for a telemarketing company right around the corner. He went from a millionaire to us, you know, like just making a weekly check, and it didn't work with him up there. He had some issues, you know, with his alcohol and his drug addiction, which he didn't do in front of me, but I still knew there was something weird about him, right? You know, he paid the rent, he paid the bills. He didn't want me working, he didn't want me socializing. Not too many men talked to me, put it that way. And that's the way Matt wanted it. He knew what he was doing. One night we were at a bar, and my ex-boyfriend ended up walking in and came up and spit on me for some reason. And I saw Matt coming at him, and I'm like, dude, you need to run. Well, Matt picked him up by his earlobes, legit earlobes, off the ground, and was screaming in his face, spitting all over him because he didn't have his 2 teeth here. The guy went out, got in his car. Matt had the back of his car lifted up, the 2 wheels off the ground, spinning like crazy, and he's holding the car there. And the cops came. They maced him, tased him. I'm like, might want to shoot him in the leg. He's not gonna stop. So then they'd put him in jail, and he kept telling him, take your badge and your guns off, fight me like a man. And that's when he ripped the sink out in the jail cell, like literally ripped it out of its plumbing.
Stripped of the beloved character he'd brought to life, Matt returns to the wrestling business. But the business has changed.
Nobody wanted Maniac Matt Borne, nobody wanted Big Josh the Lumberjack. They all wanted Doink. I mean, he still had the costume, he knew how to put the makeup on, he could do it himself.
Matt even takes his Doink character to the last place anyone would expect a clown, the violent renegade company known as Extreme Championship Wrestling.
This is ECW. That clown is in the wrong place.
I was in ECW when Matt Borne came in, and it was effective because on the surface, ECW fans hated it because it was Doink the Clown.
TEW!
But underneath that hatred, there was that level of respect because he was Matt Borne.
How does it feel to live in my hell?
I think the Born Again gimmick was half clown, half Matt Borne.
Vince McMahon found out he was on all these independent promoters' cards because it was his copyright. It was. So Vince McMahon sent legal papers.
When we created that thing, I had to sign the copyrights over to Vince. I was kind of bitter about it. They had never sent me any residual money for all my dolls and videos and stuff, which I was supposed to get a piece of. So
Carl and
I had
Johnny?
countersued them for my residuals.
That might be the move.
So Vince was like, all right, that's fair, but you can't
Give
use
them
Doink,
something to
and
do.
you get your residuals every month.
As Matt struggles to rebuild his career, his home life is upended by the arrival of 2 more children.
I can remember when Tegan was born, he looked at her and he looked at me
Excellent
and he said, she's
tag
happy.
match to start it off.
He adored her. And of course his boy, my son, Matthew, he adored him too, because that was his second chance. He had 2 other kids. He didn't get to see them, he didn't get to raise them, but me and him, when we ended up having 2 kids, they were his life.
I just
But
try
okay.
to remember
Either
the
way.
good times. And when he was clean, he was a completely different human being. I mean, he was so put together, has nothing negative to say. I mean, he was my dad.
I think he thought, I gotta bring myself back because I'm not myself anymore. Like, I'm a wrestler, that's what I do.
Though striving to reclaim his glory in
90.
the wrestling
Good
industry,
stuff.
Matt's battles with addiction continue to threaten his aspirations. Though Matt struggles to be a good father and family man, his ongoing issues with drugs and
boy.
alcohol make him unpredictable and dangerous.
He went and got clean a few times, and I stood by his side the whole time, because everybody else just washed him away like he was nothing. If he was on too much drugs or too much alcohol,
He took
he
away
would
his
just get
freelance
very
status?
violent, mean, and crazy. I could be upstairs sleeping with my son, he'd be like, why were you out tonight with so-and-so? I'm like, what? I thought, this guy
Guys,
needs
we
help.
have
Like,
to
I
get
just
him. This
can't
is
turn my back on him.
this is to get
He
another
got me one
episode in
time,
Dark Side of the Ring.
super good. He went to the gym. He would go to the gym for like 2-3 hours a day. So I was just reading the newspaper on our couch. He walked up the steps, accused me of cheating on him. The next I know, I'm in the hospital. He beat me up real good. I couldn't see for 2 weeks. My eyeballs were shut. He broke my nose. And yes, you're probably gonna say, why did you go back with him? Down in my heart, like the next day he saw me after he got out of jail. He was like, what happened to your face? Did I do that? He literally don't remember any of it. He said, I am truly, truly sorry. And I forgave him.
As Matt's drug use becomes even more extreme, his downward spiral intensifies.
Him and my mom fought, you know, he loved to drink. And when he drank, he said some really effed up shit.
Finally, one day, I don't know what it was, I grabbed both their hands. I said, Matt, I can't do this anymore. I have been here through thick and thin with you. I said, I'm not taking anything with me. I am done.
She hurried up, packed the bag. She was scared. I remember her being so scared.
And I walked out the door and he didn't come after me because I thought he was going to. I thought, Jesus, if this is gonna be the day, he's gonna kill me. And he went, I understand. And he let me go.
It takes a lot of balls to leave somebody like that when they don't have the ability to get clean or get better.
Strung out and landing at rock bottom, Matt's behavior in the ring becomes as unpredictable as his behavior at home.
When Matt didn't like you, it was a wrap. And he's not gonna let it go. Like, he's that type of person to not let anything go.
We're up in White Plains, New York, and look on the board, I'm working with Matt. Oh, cool, you know, hey Matt, how's it going? He goes, well, actually, how about I come out, I hit you with a chair, you hit me with a 2x4. I'm like, Matt, there's 100 people out there, brother. I'll come out, I'll cheer USA, we'll have a nice walk and talk.
Jim had something he did that was and still is effective, and Matt wanted more.
Just so happens that my opponent tonight, we go way, 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 way back.
Long story short, we're in the ring, and he gave me a nut shot.
All right, gentlemen.
Referee tried to hurt me.
Hacksaw going to work.
It's a shoot. So I rolled up, I pushed him in the corner, and I'm asking him, you want to work or you want to shoot, brother?
Let's go. You want to work? Want to fight? You want to work? Tell me.
He rolls out of the ring and grabs a chair. Well, I got my 2x4. So I tell the referee, I said, tell him we'll finish it in the dressing room like you're supposed to do. So I wait and I wait and I wait. No, Matt. He came out of the ring, went right out the fire exit, got in his car and left. It was pre-planned attack.
You have to make a real attempt at not liking Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He's not a divisive personality in our business. Like, everybody likes Jim Duggan. Like,
for him to make that move for 30 years after the incident, that's carrying a grudge.
By 2013, Matt has moved to Plano, Texas, where he lives with a new girlfriend.
I met Matt in 1988-89, and I was actually mean Nurse Cratchit.
Here comes Nurse Cratchit.
So I would just, bing him with my bedpan, knock him out. Hi, my name is Connie Cook, and I was Matt Borne's girlfriend. He was crazy, I was crazy, and we just hit it off. 2011, he found me on Facebook, then he just never left my side. I loved him, and I wanted to make it work. That's why I moved to Texas. Some days it was good, some days it wasn't. After I moved to Texas, I was stressing about my mom. She was very sick, and he took care of my mom. He cooked for her, he gave her medicine. I knew he had my back, and I definitely had his.
It was June of 2013, and I was getting up for softball practice. My mom texted me and said, "I think your dad's dead," because we saw it on TMZ. My mom said she called my dad's cell phone, and Connie answered the phone. She was like crying hysterically. My mom said, "What the fuck happened, Connie?"
I said, Connie, do not tell me he's dead.
I know Connie killed my dad. I will never not think that she didn't. She took him away from me, and I hate her for it.
Damn.
At home in
Ricky the
Elwood,
Dragon
Michelle and
Steamboat.
Tegan are shocked to learn that Matt has passed. Tragic news confirmed by a phone call with Matt's girlfriend, Connie Cook.
I said, okay, so, what happened? She goes, well, he stole all my mom's drugs. And she said, yeah, he's dead. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this wasn't in the cards. How am I supposed to take care of these kids, right? They were 12 and 15.
Okay.
Sorry, getting emotional.
Still have a few people to talk to.
But it changed.
But while we're talking
everything in
about
our
killing
lives.
Matt Borne,
Everything.
The night before my dad died, my mom was on the phone with him, and he said,
was that an insensitive segue? I'm sorry. While we're talking about killing Matt Borne, the Dark Brotherhood has kidnapped him. Matt Borne won't be seen again for 5 or 6 days, and when he is seen again, he's going to be operating under a new gimmick. Well, occult's already pretty good. Let me see. He's going to work under a mask. I think I've already picked all my favorite picture of Matt Borne. Let's just see. Yeah. That's a different guy. Alright. But I don't know if Doink is really what I want. Do I want to make him work as Doink? Can we find something different? Do we need generic pictures in here? No. Maybe he's just the maniac? And I don't think it's a clown outfit, and he's definitely not going as Doink. But we'll use this just to kind of show that he's in his paint, he's in his mask. Create a new mask. Yeah. So he joins the Sullivan family as they do some kind of sacrificial ritual on him to turn him into what he is now, which is Kevin Sullivan's court jester. See, they consider him to be like Sullivan, to be like a king, to be like their leader, their supreme ruler or whatever of the cult, and he wanted to put Matt Borne in his place by making him Kevin Sullivan's jester. And yeah, they did some kind of weird experimental magic or some kind of demonic sacrifice that Kevin Sullivan specializes in, and they turned Matt Borne into Born Again, a jester. He makes gestures, but he's a jester. Yeah. Do we want to change the occult gimmick? I think it still works because he's like an occult jester. It should be all right. But that's essentially where we were going with the Kevin Sullivan thing. I just wanted to make sure that happened before we got too far down the rabbit hole and we all hated. Did I say Kevin Sullivan? The Matt Borne and Kevin Sullivan, Adrian Adonis, that whole feud. And we all hated Matt Borne by the end of this, probably. Or maybe we hate his latest wife, his final wife.
Michelle, I called you because I'm leaving Connie.
He went, I told the crazy bitch I'm leaving her. I said, oh, Jesus Christ. We giggled, and then he went, well, you know what? If anything does happen to me, Michelle, don't let it go. I said, Matt, what are you talking about? Why did you say that? He went, seriously, just don't let it go.
The day that all this happened, he was moaning in the kitchen. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Nothing. So then he does it again, moans again. And so he turns around and falls to his knee, and he grabbed my hand and he goes, marry me. I said, oh my God, you're really on my nerve right now. I think he might have been having a heart attack, and he just wouldn't tell me. And he wore glasses. And so he was like, Connie, I can't find my glasses. So I go retrace his steps, kitchen, my mom's bedroom. Well, I noticed that one of the bottles was moved. And I was like, Matt, that medicine is from hospice. I was like, we're gonna be in trouble if you don't tell me where those are. And he said to me, well, I guess I'll just go to jail. And I was like, that's just crazy. So I go to bed, and later on, I don't even know what time it was, I hear somebody beating on the door. And there's a girl at the door. She was like, my brothers found your husband laying on the ground outside. They think he's dead.
It was like a gated community kind of place where everybody could see everything that's going on in your life. And there was witnesses. They saw him. He was stumbling, falling over air conditioners. He was bruised.
So I heard sirens, and I was like, Matt, you need to get up because I think someone's called the police on you for being drunk out here because they said you were on the ground. So we get him to his feet. We set him down in the recliner by the door. That time I didn't know he was ODing. Well, I went in there and got in the bed, and I could hear him snoring. So I didn't think anything was wrong with him because he snored.
You were watching him overdose, and you did nothing. If you saw someone puking in their mouth and gagging on it, wouldn't you think there was something wrong?
According to Plano police reports, on the morning Matt died, Connie awoke at 6:30 a.m. and saw Matt gurgling and foaming at the mouth. After calling her friend, Connie went back to bed. At 9 a.m., 2.5 hours after she first woke up, Connie called 911.
We're gonna address really specifically some of these allegations.
Okay.
That once Matt was already in the house and you put him down in the recliner that you heard gurgling, what did you do next?
That was like early in the morning. My alarm usually went off 6 o'clock, 6:30. I heard him all night snoring. But when I came out of the bedroom, there's something coming out of his nose, and so I grabbed the rag and I was like, hey, what? You need to get up. That's nasty. And he was making a different noise. So I called my friend in Tennessee, and I leaned over the counter and was trying to let her listen to it. And I said, do you hear that? She said, Connie, that's a death rattle. She was like, hang up right now and call 911. It's not like I just left him sitting there. I mean, it might have been 5 minutes until I called my friend. I didn't go back to bed.
Because it wasn't until 9 that you called 911.
No, they have that wrong. I didn't go back to bed. As soon as I hung up talking to her, I called 911. And they snatched him up and put him on the gurney, trying to get the thing down his throat. And they were like, we got to go now. I mean, dude was on top of him, pounding on him. I'm just like, now I'm really freaking out. And then the detective came in, and I told her what I knew. We went in the room. She found the bottle. I think there was maybe 30 missing out of the bottle, so I don't know how many he actually had taken. And so I left and went to the hospital and went and saw him. And so I'm screaming at Matt to get up. And then they were trying to make me leave, and I literally wouldn't leave the room because they were trying to put him in the dark. And Matt hated the dark.
What was the official cause of Matt's death?
Overdose of hydrocodone and morphine and an enlarged heart.
Connie believes Matt's heart issues were a secret he had kept for a very long time.
When he was in WWF, he went to the hospital because he was having, I guess, chest pains. And so they hooked him up to a EKG machine. I think they wanted to do something, but Matt never did. And then when he passed away, I called the coroner's office to find out exactly, what they found out. His heart was 6 times the normal size. And I was like, what does that mean? They were like, substance abuse, stress. I think he worried about it, but he just didn't tell nobody about it. I called the ambulance when I realized that there was something wrong with him. I did everything to help him.
With his backstory, and he has a track record for being on drugs. On his death certificate, it was accidental overdose. Of course, it's easy to put that down because of who he was, but no.
When I hung up with him, she was about to bring him out a drink.
He probably got a thing of Crown. She mixed some liquid morphine in there, and he's probably fucked up out of his mind, and he sat on the recliner. He laid there and died all night. He was foaming out the mouth. I'm confused. Why'd you wait all night to call 911? There was foul play.
I'm just flabbergasted that someone would even think that of me. I feel horrible. I'm horrified that that child would think that. The allegations are crazy. They're not true. I did not kill him. I did not put anything in his drink. I love him. I still love him to this day and still wish that he was here. Why would I want to kill him? And if it meant me dying and leaving here for him to be alive, I would be dead and he would be here.
An investigation by the Plano Police Department found no evidence of any criminal conduct, no evidence that Matt Borne was deliberately drugged with liquid morphine by Connie Cook, and no evidence of negligence in her response to Matt Borne's overdose. On June 28, 2013, Matt Borne, known to wrestling fans as Doink the Clown, dies. According to the autopsy, it was from an overdose of opiates.
I remember that day very vividly, going into that funeral home, and my brother, that was his first funeral ever. He was like, why is he so cold? And I lost it. I mean, that was really tough.
The worst thing of all this was watching them two look over their dad in that casket. And there was nothing I could do, a hug, a kiss, nothing that I could take away their pain.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been terrible. I mean, I struggled with depression for a little bit. I lost a lot of friends. And I kind of felt like my dad in that moment, now that I look back at it. He lost so many people because of his actions. And it was like, damn, now I know how this dude felt. No wonder why he did drugs. Because he felt like shit all the time.
I've heard comments that people have made about me, that the reason I got Doink over is because I'm a sick motherfucker that needs some serious help. There's times I think that too, but who isn't? I mean, come on.
You're not getting into the ring with some jabroni that puts on some clown outfit and calls himself Doink. It's Matt Borne.
Matt lived fast and hard, and so it did not come as a shock when I learned that Matt had passed. He seemed to have a lot going for him.
Come on, tough guy!
But ultimately, Matt's biggest adversary was not a wrestler, but his demons. From a substance standpoint and the temperament issue he struggled with, his legacy is of a guy who willingly gave more to the wrestling business than it gave back. And a guy whose weaknesses were exploited by the nature of the beast. Constant travel, the strain on relationships, the pain involved that opens the door to medication. Matt Borne meant a lot to wrestling and to anyone who saw Matt at his best, which was not in the national spotlight, but in those regional territories.
And Borne rolls him back.
He connected and he made a difference.
This picture is actually 2 weeks before Matt passed, with his son Matthew at the airport leaving. Very sad.
Yeah, Matthew was always sad when Dad left.
Yeah, it tore him up.
This picture is one of my favorites because it's one of the last I got with him. But this picture, he was like, come on, T, we got to get one picture before I leave. And I'm like, all right. Yeah,
really
this is
wish
one of
you
my
witnessed
favorites.
them.
And his big hands back there, too. It looks like a spider, but it's Dad's huge ass hand. So.
Sad to see him go. This is all we have left of him.
Yep.
We all have these troubled souls. We're all troubled souls, if we look at it honestly. But Matt had talent. Matt had a legacy. He made Doink the Clown bigger than it ever should have been, in my opinion. And that gets covered up by some of his transgressions outside the ring.
From time to time, when Matt had a few drinks, he would open up about the pain of being an absentee dad, and I really think that bothered Matt.
You know, he had a lot of regrets about marriages, about his kids, and I seen that firsthand.
I never gave up on him through all that bad stuff we did go through. I knew he was a good person. The horrible things that my kids read about their dad, just Doink was a drug addict, he was a piece of shit, washed up wrestler, that he was not that. Yes, he did do his share of drugs, and he did make mistakes, just like every other human being. But I just want people to know that that's not what he was. I want him to be remembered as a great father. He wanted to raise those 2 kids. I miss them, not gonna lie. But they miss him way more.
One thing my mom always told me, she's like, well, Tegan, when you were born, your dad said, she's gonna be something someday. And every time my mom says that, it makes me feel like he's still here a little bit. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not no Doink the Clown. I'm not no famous wrestler, but when I graduated college, I graduated with almost a 4.0. I graduated magna cum laude, took these CPA exams that were so hard, got a job right out of college. I'm a certified public accountant. And then you just get the little negative part where I'm like, damn, like, he should be here. We had our little rough patches. We butted heads, and now that I'm getting older, I realize we butted heads so much because we were so much alike. And now I wish I could just say, you know what, Dad, I'm sorry. Wasn't perfect, but he was my dad, so.
Well, that was Dark Side of the Ring, Matt Borne. The downfall of Doink the Clown. Jake Roberts bid. Oh, WCW dropped out. Okay, but yeah, hopefully we'll get some big names in here. But for today, I think that's the show. Thank you all for joining us, and check it out next time. I'll definitely be able to stream next week, but I'll try to drop in the interim time between now and then as well. Peace.